Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Our first episode after the pilot. I am Max Loeb. This is Chef Zay. We appreciate you guys tuning back in. Appreciate all the support on the first episode. Zay, how are you doing?
Feeling good, man. The spring is in the air. The rain is bringing up the new flowers. You got Jimmy Haslam speaking, Andrew Berea speaking, Kevin Stefanski. I don't know, man. It's football season right around the corner.
These owners' meetings have been wild. This is the craziest set of owners' meetings I can remember. Probably last like 5 years. Not just with the Haslam stuff, Andrew Berea gushing about Travis Hunter, Kevin Stefanski talking about all these players. They're going to have dinner with Shedeur Sanders Thursday or Friday this week. Got the Pro Day on April 4th. We'll talk about that later. But this has been a crazy week. We got to talk about the Haslam stuff. We'll talk about it throughout the entire episode. But those comments floored me.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I wasn't expecting to get, number one, some good grace back for Jimmy Haslam, because I think he got a lot of good grace back with these fans, apologizing and not necessarily apologizing, but letting them know, like, hey, we dropped the ball. We took a big swing or we got a big miss. But I think the one that really hit me was the one that he just said, we're not going to force a quarterback at 2. That one is just like, this is the biggest smoke screen. This is the biggest question mark I feel like I've ever gone into the draft in as long as I can think of, honestly. Because usually kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're going to do at 2.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a bunch throughout this episode. We have an interview as well. We're going to talk about number 2 overall pick, quarterback situations, things like that. But I'm with you. I didn't think good grace could be earned back in that situation. The only way I thought it could have happened was a straight-up cut of Deshaun Watson.
That would have worked.
But financially, that was never going to work for the Browns, so that was never going to happen. But this is like just admitting the mistake.
While he's still on the roster.
Yeah, and that I saw somebody on one of the socials mention Deshaun Watson could kind of get like the treatment he got at the end of Houston's tenure, where he just like wasn't with the team for a while. I see a world where that potentially happens. Like, the door is as close to closed as it's ever been. Reading that quote, seeing everything that happened, saying we took a big swing and we missed is all but closing the door on this situation. And he also said later on in that tweet that they have to do everything they can to work back against that, to make right for it. Now, making right for it, especially in the winning football game sense, has to come with a quarterback, right? You need to get a quarterback. But like you said, they're not opposed to just going BPA. I'll talk about that. BPA, best player available, which could be Travis Hunter, could be Abdul Carter. I couldn't believe that they're so open to just going best player available. If we don't get our quarterback, we don't get him.
I wonder what they graded Kenny Pickett, because he was drafted during Stefanski and the AV era, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I wonder what they had him graded as, because Kevin Stefanski seems to really like Kenny Pickett, unless he's just fluffing us, you know what I mean? Like, and we know how Kevin Stefanski can get the most out of quarterbacks. We've seen it, like, literally with any quarterback that suits up besides Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
They can come in and win games. So I'm almost wondering if it's like, this is going to be a year where Kevin Stefanski gets to flex his muscles. He gets to show you what he can do with Kenny Pickett and then train a quarterback behind him. And if they're not going to force a guy at 2, you know, as much as we're sitting here talking Travis Hunter, this and that, this could be one of those drafts where they potentially trade back. Like we talked about it last show. I just pray it's not the trade back for a tackle. I don't want to do that.
I don't think they would do that.
If they got faith in Kenny Pickett, why not? If they got faith in Kenny Pickett, I think anything at this point is on the table. And I think the odds on that are very, very low, obviously. But that comment just scares me unless they are playing the best game of chess we've ever seen in Cleveland.
I got no clue what they're doing, to be honest with you. I think Cleveland would explode if the Browns traded back for a tackle. And this is not even like, it's not like the Browns have dire need at tackle either. Jack Conklin was good last year.
Yes, he was.
And I think DeJuan Jones has pretty solid upside still. Like, there were moments last year and 2 years ago where you saw him play and you're like, wow, this guy is a monster. And if transitioned over to the left side, which is still kind of working on, could be our franchise left tackle. Like, it's not like they desperately need a tackle. If they did that, downtown Cleveland would explode. It would explode. The move to Brook Park would have to happen after the stadium explodes. Like
after the Journey concert.
After the Journey concert, yes. But there's no way. I can't see it. But other stuff from these owners' meetings, if you guys didn't see, we got Mike Tomlin sweating through his shirt. We got a bunch of rule changes, like actual monumental rule changes. Overtime now in the regular season has both teams getting the football. We have, as crazy as this sounds, NFL referees kind of getting nerfed. Video replay just going on and being able to do its thing. If it's clear and obvious, which is a very slippery slope, saying, yeah, ref, you were wrong, we're changing this. I personally think it's great. If it brings back reviewable pass interferences down the line, I will have done my due diligence as somebody who talks about football for a living. But this stretch of owners' meetings has been absolutely nuts.
You know what's going to happen with the replay, right? It's going to be the first one where it's like, oh, they went to replay. It's clear that there was a mess up, and then they still don't go. It's going to happen with Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's going to be an obvious roughing the passer call that wasn't a roughing the passer. Video evidence is going to come back and support the referees. Like, as much as we think it could get nerfed, let's be honest. It might not be nerfed for special players.
Yeah, it's definitely a subjective thing. And, you know, the referees just now kind of are subjective too. Like, they have to do it in real time and be subjective about it, or be objective about something that's subjective. But now they get replay assist to do it. I don't know. Like you said, it could. I think the quote-unquote LeBron treatment or the special treatment for certain players will still probably exist. But clear and obvious, like that is objectively a good thing for the league. Keeping officials honest, keeping, honestly, the play of the game honest, I think is a great thing. But these owners' meetings have been unreal. Like, so many crazy things. We're going to talk about Jimmy Haslam on the next segment, Never Sunny in Berea, here on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. This is Chef Zay. We are back with our trademark segment, Never Sunny in Berea, where we attribute weather reports to three important people in the Browns world. Last week, we did Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and Myles Garrett. This week, we got a complete polar opposite of those guys. We're going to start with Jimmy Haslam. The comments he made, I think it's going to be good weather. I don't know what you're going to say first, Zay, but I will let you kick it off. The weather report you are attributing to Jimmy Haslam amidst all of these crazy comments that none of us expected.
I'm going to go like that October hot, where it's like, dang, this is nice. I had the hoodie out, you know what I mean? We got a nice little shock of nice hot weather, because this could very, very quickly go south, and it could be 40 degrees the very next day. So I'm going that October hot, but just be wary. Jimmy Haslam always has that opportunity to make it go very, very overcast and windy to follow.
I have the same philosophy, but a different time of the year. I'm going with the first day in the spring you can wear shorts. You step outside, the weather is like 50-something degrees, you're wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, you're like, damn, it's hot out, I got to go change. You get that refreshing feel of weather that's nicer than you thought, because nobody thought any good grace was going to be earned back with this Deshaun Watson situation. But like you said, all of a sudden the next day it could drop back down to 25 degrees in March. So
it was basically like that day we had in, was it February or was it, I think it was February. We had a 60-degree day.
Yes, it was February, yep.
And I'm like, I got to go put on shorts.
Yes.
And then it was snowing the next day.
Yes, you're so caught in this lull and depressive state of the bad weather, the Cleveland winter, then all of a sudden you get something nice you're not expecting.
Yep. That's a good one.
But it always does come crashing down. I don't want to say this is going to come crashing down, but the reality is the Browns quarterback situation next year is a product of the swing and a miss. So inherently it kind of will come crashing down unless they can hit on somebody. Like Kirk Cousins. I don't know about you, Zay. I've never been to that Chipotle.
May have to go.
Talk to those workers there.
City Barbecue, he was there too. I saw that as well.
I like City Barbecue.
Okay.
City Barbecue is very good. But I don't know about you. I'm not traveling multiple hours to go to a Chipotle. I'm sure they got those in Atlanta, right?
I mean, what do they got in the meat down there? and Westlake across because oh no, Kirk Cousins didn't have anything to do with the Browns. He just wanted to try our new barbacoa recipe that we got with extra double rice and all of this. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
There was some type of something there going on. Yeah. So what I'm gonna go with a nice 75-degree day with a chance of hail. That hail was him coming out of left field with the sun. It's like sunning and hailing because that took Cleveland by storm. That was the only thing I saw on my timeline for a good day and a half was the same picture over and over and over, and all the speculation that followed. So it's nice out, but that was hail because we weren't expecting that at all.
Yeah, I like that. I think the drastic change is what I'm going to lean into also. I'm going to go with the first snow of the winter. I think everybody who's especially been fed up with the warmer weather throughout the fall and is waiting for that first snow loves the first snow of winter. What's not to love? It's beautiful. The weather's nice. You can go outside, fully feel the snow as long as it's not like a blizzard. But you know damn well that for months on end, that weather is going to suck. It's going to suck. And look, here's the reality, guys. I've talked about it a couple times. I think Kirk Cousins could come in and be a fine bridge quarterback. Could be a good mentor, even though I don't think he wants to do that. We cannot sit here and expect 2022, 2023 Kirk Cousins or the Kirk Cousins that was with Kevin Stefanski. Like we can't expect that. If you guys watched him play last year off of the torn Achilles, it is night and day. Night and day between that Atlanta Falcons Kirk Cousins and the Kirk Cousins we saw in Minnesota a couple of years ago. Maybe he wasn't fully healed. Maybe he wasn't fully healed. Too. He also had a shoulder injury. You know who else had a shoulder injury? Deshaun Watson.
You know who else had one? Baker Mayfield.
Exactly. I don't know what it is with the Browns quarterback's shoulder, whatever, regardless.
Do you think this could have played a factor, though? Him knowing that the rookie was behind him, and they probably, almost like Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer, it was almost like they really wanted Kurt to just ultimately fail, in a sense. Do you think
eventually
there could have been any of that involved? And now it's like, I've got this chip on my shoulder. No one believes that I can come back and be the Kirk Cousins that I once was. I mean, if we've seen Geno Smith, we've seen Baker Mayfield, we've seen some of these quarterbacks have, good seasons, then kind of go through the stretch and then bounce back and do it. Could he possibly be that next one?
I would feel a lot less confident about it, especially like comparing him to guys like Baker and Geno. I guess Baker had the shoulder injury, but not a lower extremity driving the football into tighter window injury. Those guys were also younger. Kirk is a little bit older. I would love him to come in with a chip on his shoulder because, to be honest with you, it kind of seems inevitable that he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. Like, Atlanta is not going to bring him back. You listen to Raheem Morris talk about at those owners' meetings. He said, I'd be a fool. I don't know if this is the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of I'd be a fool to expect him to show up for voluntary stuff, which is true. He doesn't want to be there, guys. He doesn't want to be in Atlanta. That's the reality of it. And I can't blame him, to be honest with you, but I find it so hard to believe that he can magically resurrect that play he had a couple of years ago where he was good, spry, got the football out quick, and now he's coming off the torn Achilles a year later, shoulder injury. I will say, though, it is very hard to do worse than a 1-2-1 touchdown interception ratio, which is what he had last year. It is hard to do worse than that.
I look at it like I think Kevin Stefanski may be licking at the chops. I just go back to, there's not a lot of things that I rave about with Kevin Stefanski, but the one thing that I will give him his kudos on is he will get the most out of whatever quarterback that, as long as it's not the elite-esque type talent like we thought with Deshaun Watson, he can get the most out of anybody. And if you're talking about a guy who can't throw those tight ball windows, to be fair, I know it's not going to sit right with a lot of people. He has schemed a lot of guys.
Yes,
open.
He has. You are right.
So that's something that it's like we're not going to necessarily ask Kirk Cousins to make these tight window throws that we saw Joe Flacco make because he was just going to go out there and sling it. Kirk Cousins needs to go out there and prove it again that he can just come out here and play football. And if anybody is going to squeeze the juice, Kevin Stefanski is honestly your guy.
Yeah.
He didn't get two-time coach of the year for nothing.
Yes, and I agree. That is a very good point. He will fit Stefanski's scheme, and that's something I tend to overlook a little bit too, but he will fit that scheme really well. He's going to squeeze the juice there. He's going to squeeze the juice with Kenny Pickett, 100%. Yep. I'm honestly kind of fascinated by that, but he is going to squeeze the juice with a rookie. I don't know which rookie it's going to be, but most likely, I think, is Shedeur Sanders. Given all the stuff with Shedeur Sanders the past week, obviously we have the pro day coming up, which we could talk about a little bit later. Attribute a weather report to Shedeur Sanders based on the stuff that he talked to Gilly, the Eagles fan, about potentially going to the Giants, based on everything the Browns have said this week about not being committed or forced into taking a quarterback at 2. Weather report for Shedeur Sanders.
I think it's cloudy overcast. I think it's not as it's kind of always been that way because to his expectation, he's not listening to any of that stuff. But like as far as all of the noise surrounding it, him falling in the draft, him being quoted as a second or third rounder, daddy's boy, all of the stuff that's surrounding him, like you said, like you mentioned, we were talking Shedeur at number 2 all the day, every day. And now all of a sudden it's Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. It's kind of like we're just pushing off Shedeur to the side. So it's like, I don't think there's necessarily anything sunny unless you're just in his world. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's the smoke. Maybe it's not overcast. Maybe it's smoky.
Yeah. No, foggy.
Foggy.
Foggy. I think foggy's the best way to put it because there's so many things going on with Shedeur Sanders. Like the Gilly interview about the Giants came out yesterday, or the clip came out yesterday, when it seemed very clearly that he assumed he was going there. And then there's been other times where he's been walking around with Browns hats on his backpack and
said he
used them in Madden. Like, who knows? Who knows? But I think foggy, just because there is so much going on, we never know. But we are going to talk about that a bunch, the number 2 overall pick, our ideal and projected quarterback rooms, in our next segment, an interview with content creator, fellow Browns influencer committee member, Logan Thomas, next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And we have a very special guest, Logan Thomas, in here getting ready to talk Browns. Logan, member of the Browns influencer community, a content creator in your own right, just like us. Thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you coming in.
My committee brother.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, committee brothers. It's a beautiful sunny day down here in Cleveland, Ohio, so I love that.
Sunny and cold, and you guys know we just talked about the weather report, so we can't help but talk about what you do, because Zay mentioned it. Browns influencer committee, just started your own business, been creating content full-time for a minute now. How has that been for you? Tell everybody what you do.
It's been great. So the content creation kind of started. My fiance's been in. She was on Instagram for like 4 years, and I was just like the content boyfriend in the background, taking pictures, taking videos. I used to get annoyed with it. I didn't understand it. I was like a ghost online for the longest time. I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have a TikTok, an X or a Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, but I didn't have anything. And then I was finally like, I'm going to give it a shot. Just like kind of out of the blue last year around like August. And I told my fiance I'm going to post for 30 days and just whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to post every day for 30 days. I don't care how bad the videos are. She was editing some of them in the beginning. And I think it was like around like the 45-day mark, I had one video just like randomly blow up and get like 6 million views. And that kind of snowballed everything. I was like, well, I'm not going to stop posting now. And I received a couple DMs from people. They were asking me, about my routines. They said my videos helped them with their routines. They told me they helped them get through some things, outside of like the college life and the corporate life. So I was like, if these videos are helping people, I'm definitely never going to stop making them. Like if I can help people in any way, that's all I wanted to get out of it. I never thought it would lead to being on the Browns influencer committee or doing anything like that. So everything that's come after that is just a bonus to me. It's just like even being here is like a dream come true. It's awesome. I never thought I'd be on podcasts or anything.
That first million view is different. Yes. It gets the blood flowing for sure.
Yeah, it's extremely cool to see. And for anybody who may not know the content style, how would you describe it? Like lifestyle content, but all in Ohio?
Mostly Dana lifestyle content, but if there's a Cavs game, a Guards game, or a Browns game on, that's usually the feature of the content that day. I don't think I've ever not posted when the Browns are on. And when the influencer committee came out, people were like, we need to get some real fans, or like, who are these people? I'm like, trust me, I'm a real fan. I've been through all the heartbreak, I was in the car with my dad. We left the stadium when Joe Flacco broke our hearts with the Jets. We were listening. We pulled over on the side of the road on the highway. We were both like freaking out. We were like, what is going on? But trust me, I've been through way back. I can't even put words to what we've been through. I'm sure you guys have been through it too. We've been in the trenches.
Yes, very much so. It's starting to look a little bit brighter, not super bright, but I think it'll get a lot brighter when the Browns figure out who their quarterback is. So, Logan, I want to ask you, and we're going to talk about it a little bit too here. September, whatever the start date is for the NFL season, ideal quarterback room. 3 quarterbacks. We're not going to include Deshaun Watson. Probably won't be on the active roster. Ideal quarterback room. 3 quarterbacks. Who is it?
I'm going to go with Zay, what he said kind of before the show started. I like Shedeur Sanders. I like if we take him at 2. And I like also bringing in some sort of veteran. I don't know if that's Kirk Cousins. I don't know if that's Joe Flacco. I doubt it's Joe Flacco, but, Kirk Cousins being at the Chipotle in Cleveland gives me I'm a little suspect about that, but my ideal room is probably Kenny Pickett. He's already on the roster. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders and Kirk Cousins, kind of a mentor. I'd like to see him start. I always hate throwing in a rookie, right off the bat, especially in Cleveland. I think, the pressure is there for sure to perform. If we can ease him in and maybe Kirk comes in and performs well, or if he doesn't, maybe Shedeur can take the reins, but that's my go-to. That's my 3.
I like that. And Zay, you're same boat, same 3, correct?
My ideal is a little bit different than what I actually think it is, because everyone knows I'm Team Joe Flacco. So Shedeur obviously won. Kenny Pickett, you have to throw him in there. And after hearing the comments saying that with Kevin Stefanski, it's almost seeming like dude's gonna get the start, which is kind of crazy, which kind of puts a wrench into this whole who is the veteran that comes in, because I think it was Andrew Berry came out and said that the quarterback room is going to remain young. So if it isn't another veteran, they could potentially go 2 rookies and it'd be Pickett and 2 rookies. Mm-hmm. So ideally, I want Flacco, Shedeur, and Pickett. Realistically, it's probably Cousins, Shedeur, Pickett.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, I talked about it last time. The potential of taking Shedeur at 2 and then taking a guy like Will Howard or Riley Leonard's the late round guy I like the most, but Riley Leonard later on. If they keep the quarterback room young, quote unquote, that is totally the route they could go. And, for what it's worth with Kenny Pickett, he's been in the NFL and he's won games as a starter. He's won more games than he's lost. Granted, not all his doing, maybe didn't play the biggest part in all of those games, but he still found ways to win as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And, the reality is Kenny Pickett is going to be on the roster regardless. But what the Browns do at number 2 is at the forefront of literally everything. Literally everything. So, Logan, I'll turn it back to you. Who do you want?
I'm on team Travis Hunter right now. I think it's really hard to pass him up. I think he's like a unicorn in the league. I don't think that I know of. I've never seen a guy be able to go 2 ways. I don't know how viable that's going to be, once the season starts, if he's actually going to be able to go both ways. But I think plugging him in with the wide receiver room we have, and if we get a viable option at QB, he could be very dangerous. And also, we do have injury problems on the defense. I wouldn't mind if, Denzel or Emerson, God forbid, they get a little banged up, toss him in on, a DB if we need to for a couple weeks. But I think if he's there, and if we're not looking to go QB at 2, I think it's a no-brainer to take him. But if we are, then I think the no-brainer would be Shedeur. If you have any speculation that you want to take a QB and you want a young guy like Shedeur, or if Cam Ward's there, which I don't think he will be at all, but if Shedeur is there and we have any want to have that QB and that leader to take over in the young QB room, I think he's the guy. You got to take him.
Isn't it so crazy that really up until the past 48 hours, it was Abdul Carter or Shedeur Sanders? There was no in between. And we all saw the comments Andrew Berry made about Travis Hunter being the top receiver, not even talking about him as a DB, a few weeks ago. But all of a sudden now, people are talking about Travis Hunter being the best player on the board and him being the option at number 2. Did something change in your guys' mind? Am I missing something?
Yeah. Haslam. Haslam, I cannot believe how much juice Haslam gave us when he talked. He said, you can't force a quarterback at 2. Andrew Berry has to nail the draft. So it's almost like, hey, we can give you this time to get a couple more years under your belt, but if you don't nail the draft, you could be gone. So it's like, if you're Andrew Berry, you have to get number 2 right. Whether it be trade back, whether it be Travis Hunter, whether it be Shedeur, whatever you do at 2, it has to hit, and it has to hit hard. Mm-hmm. Or you could be talking about a new GM potentially next year. So I think Haslam is the wrench that's been thrown into this whole conversation.
Yeah, and it's a pretty important wrench, especially with those comments. Everybody always says BPA, best player available. That's probably what the Browns are going to wind up doing. But, at the end of the day, the draft is only a certain set amount of players that's going to come onto your roster. We're going to finish this interview up, Logan, with asking you the player you want to see take the biggest leap next year for the Cleveland Browns. If they want to jump up a few wins, who has to step up and take that leap to be exponentially better than they were the year before?
I'm going to say Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to say if we go out and take Travis Hunter, and he's going to be, I think Jerry Jeudy's a wide receiver 1, and I think he could be one of the best wide receiver 1s in the league. I think he showed that last year. He had, he's going back and forth between different QBs. He was still able to put up good numbers, and I think he can not only show it on the field, but being a leader in that wide receiver room. We need a guy like Jarvis Landry, a guy that's going to set the tone day in and day out in training camp, all throughout the season, that, a younger guy can come in and look up to. Cedric Tillman, too, can look up to, and kind of they all can get on board, and just I think we, as one position at a time, can change the culture around. I think that's what I want. But if we can get that guy like Jarvis Landry and Jerry Jeudy, he kind of already has that mindset, Steve Smith talking about him and people, saying he's overhyped. I think he has that chip on his shoulder that he does have to come out and prove that he's not, and he is that guy. He can be that guy.
Yeah, and when there was serviceable quarterback play, he definitely did prove it. Zay, who are you looking at?
I think you could go a lot of different directions. Part of me wants to go Jerome Ford or whoever the running back's going to be. I like the Jerry Jeudy one, but I think I might go. I'll stay on the offensive side of the ball because defense is a different story. But give me David Njoku.
Ooh, okay.
He took a step back last year. Obviously, injuries played a part in that, and Joe Flacco not being there didn't help. But when David Njoku is a key focal point to this team, it is just such a different offense, and it's so hard to scheme for all of the playmakers that you could potentially have. So let's just say you do bring in Travis Hunter. I mean, you got to guard Jerry Jeudy, Hunter, and David Njoku, plus the dual threat running backs that we could have. Like, David Njoku could be such a huge key piece to this team. So give me Njoku, the Chief.
I mean, nobody on the planet can cover that guy one-on-one.
Exactly.
Man. That's the reality of it. It's the quarterback play. It comes back to that. I'm going to stay on the offensive side of the ball, and I think the fact that we're all talking about offense and how much it needs to improve kind of shows what we need to do at number 2. But I'm going to go DeJuan Jones. I think when you look at the offensive line, you need a left tackle. Yeah. And there were definitely moments last year where we saw that guy play, and 2 years ago, but last year too, where we saw him go against Micah Parsons, and we're like, whoa, this guy could play. Like, he could really do it. Then there were other, body language clips. There were plays that, he couldn't pick up a stunt, things like that. Can he take that next leap in year 3? That is what I am looking at. I think that's the most important thing for this Browns offense, to be honest with you, keeping whoever plays quarterback upright. That offensive line has to step up. We're going to take a brief pause. We'll talk a little bit more Browns with Logan, get into our Q&A mailbag segment on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay, and I'm here with Logan Thomas as well, talking more Browns, answering your questions that you guys asked to us on socials. If you're not locked into the socials, it's the same handle on Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok, at Honor the Land, just like the show says. We got 4 questions for you, all about the Browns, primarily about offense. There's a very, very clear theme with this episode, but I'm going to kick it off by asking you guys this. Logan, you can start. You're the guest. If the Browns don't take a quarterback at 2, which very real right now, when do we take a quarterback, and who do we take later on in the draft? That is from L4Man80 on Instagram. We appreciate your question. Logan, I'll give it to you.
I think if we don't take one at 2, I'm hoping we're taking Travis Hunter at that 2 spot. And I think we go in the 3rd round, and I think we're going to take a guy like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. I don't know how much I like those moves, because I think if you're going to take them there, I'd rather just take Shador at the 2 spot. But if we don't take one, I think it's a no-brainer to Travis Hunter, and if not, then Abdul Carter. I guess you got to get him off the board too, and just get the defensive line solid.
Zay, you're late, not even late round, non-first round quarterback.
Everyone's talking about the trade back scenario that we could have. This has trade the 33 back into the first written all over it. Let's just say all of the talk that's been around Jackson Dart as of late, if he falls anywhere to, let's just say late 20s, I wouldn't be surprised if they went Travis at 2 and then 33 they trade back in and take Jackson Dart or Milroe or whatever quarterback that may be in the first round. So if they don't go quarterback at 2, I'm team Travis Hunter. That was my very first pick that I wanted. But I'm going to say it's still the first round. I don't think they come out of this first round without a quarterback. Some way or another, they're going to get one.
Let me present you with a scenario real quick on that, because The Pittsburgh Steelers are picking at 21.
Mm.
Right above them at 20 is a team the Cleveland Browns traded with last season, the Denver Broncos. How funny would it be if the Pittsburgh Steelers were sitting at 21, they wanted Jackson Dart, and the Denver Broncos made a call to the Cleveland Browns or vice versa and said, yeah, we want to get up to 20 to take our quarterback. How awesome would that be? It's a very real thing. I think it could absolutely happen, and I think if you're looking at teams who potentially need a quarterback in the first round after the Browns and the Giants, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, I've seen the Rams maybe just for a guy in the future. But Pittsburgh, especially if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, we wait to see what happens. But that could be a team. Look, I think if they wait, they're going to wait, as in take one in the fourth round. Riley Leonard's been my guy, at least from what I saw at the Senior Bowl, what I saw throughout the college football playoff. That dude is a gamer. He's a warrior. And truthfully, I just thought he looked really good. He takes care of the football, and he can excel in a situation where he's really not asked to do too much. And I don't think he would be asked to do too much in Cleveland, to be honest with you. I think he'd be more of a facilitator and a point guard. We've talked about Jameis Winston, Sam Darnold, guys like that learning more to be just a distributor instead of hero ball, do all of this. Riley Leonard is a perfect guy for that. And I think if they don't take one at 2, that's the way they go.
So did you hop off the Will Howard train? I thought you were Will Howard, like you wanted a little bit of him too.
No, what I said about Will Howard was because of how bad he was at the Combine, I was more just looking at how he did at his pro day.
I'm not against Will Howard though. Would you be fine with Will Howard, I guess is the real question, over Riley Leonard?
I don't know if I'd be fine with it. I'd rather not. I'd rather them not do it. I like Will Howard a lot. And I think, again, that's another guy who excelled when there were good pieces around him. Obviously, guys like Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Ibuka, like they provided him with great pieces, and he was good, especially when it mattered the most. And you can't write that off. But I worry about the arm strength a little bit. I worry about a system or a situation where the talent around him, at least comparatively, like Ohio State's top-end talent is compared to the rest of college football. It's not the Browns' NFL talent compared to the rest of the NFL. I don't know. We wait to see, though. I could totally see them going late-round quarterback. Could totally see them trading back up, too. But if they want their guy at 2, they take their guy at 2.
So, my question would be, so if we take like a late-round QB, who is your QB1 going into week 1? If we have Kenny Pickett, we go late-round QB. We have to pick up that veteran, right? I mean, I that's all I'm like staying up at night thinking about. If we don't take Shador and we go late round, who's our QB1?
It's Kirk Cousins at that point. I think the thing with Kirk Cousins is he doesn't want the Penix Jr. situation to fall in again. Like, if you're taking Shador, I don't think there's a route where Kirk Cousins will waive his no clause to come to Cleveland. Yeah. But if you got Kenny Pickett on the roster and Will Howard or Riley Leonard or one of those guys on the roster, he's picking up that phone and saying, yeah, waive it, send me to Cleveland ASAP. So I think it would be Kirk Cousins if you don't go Shador.
I think it could be Kenny Pickett, too.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's just it's going to be whoever plays best in camp. And honestly, like, I am with you in the sense of waiting for rookie quarterbacks to step in so they're fully ready. But if you really believe in a guy and you feel like he can step in and win you your week 1 game and he's better than the other guys, I think you just do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Just do it.
If you have the confidence in him, why not?
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're at the point now where we got to go. The fan base wants it. Everyone can feel it. It's building. We got to go and we got to win.
Yeah, and I think the only case that happens, maybe if they trade back in and get Jackson Dart, but if they take Shador at 2. But we have another question from Jake Donady on X. He wants us to convince him not to take Travis Hunter at 2. I think we're all on the same page here that Travis Hunter would be a great pick at 2. What are the reservations in your guys' minds for not taking Travis Hunter, for taking Shador over him or Abdul Carter over him? What are the reservations you guys got?
My first reservation would be if you want that, like you said, you want the guy to come in and win right away, to lead the team, change the culture, and you believe that is Shador Sanders, then without a doubt you got to take him, because I don't think there's another quarterback in the draft that has the potential to do that, to turn around the franchise, be that guy. I mean, there could be, of course, but like on paper, I think Shador's that guy to go out and get. And if you want to plug him in week 1, change the culture of fan base and give us, a little bit of turnaround, a little bit of hope going into week 1, I think you have to. You can't validate taking. Of course he's a unicorn in the draft, but I don't think he's a turn around the entire team guy. I think Shador is a guy that he can come out, he could change the culture in Cleveland.
100%.
I mean, he took the words right out of my mouth. As far as like the culture thing, like you don't get that at a receiver position. If anything, he gets quoted a diva if he demands the ball in that esque, which I don't think Travis Hunter is the diva type. He's shown no signs of being a diva, but you're going to need a quarterback to get him the ball. So it's hard to convince you not to take Travis Hunter, other than the one big reason is you need a guy at quarterback. Like, let's just stop beating around the bush. Let's stop this whole bridge thing. Like, we've got Brook Park on the horizon. Let's get this guy some experience here in this landfill, and then let's go ahead and take him in, ready to go, battle tested, and let's run with this quarterback moving forward. But yeah, it's hard not to convince you not to take Travis Hunter. I get it.
Is there anything in your guys' minds that pushes you to Abdul Carter?
The Eagles. Seeing what they did.
Okay. Okay.
Like, seeing what they were capable of doing. They didn't blitz one time in the Super Bowl. That was credit to their front four. Like, that is disgusting. And if you're talking about Myles Garrett on one end and then you got Abdul on the other, you want to talk about a nightmare for tackles. All you got to do is let Jim Schwartz work in those defensive tackles and the inside, and you're talking about hell on water on the shores of Erie. So that would be the only thing that I could think of.
Yeah, Logan.
Yeah, I wouldn't be totally against. If they take him, I'm not going to be like, what are we doing? Him across from Myles Garrett, I think is a scary sight for any offensive line. And I think it takes the pressure off of Myles, maybe some double teams off of him, and we pick up a piece or two in the D-line, the interior D-line. I think we could be very dangerous in there.
Yeah, I think that would be probably one of the 10 best defenses in the NFL. If they play like they did 2 years ago, probably one of the 5 best.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good or bad your offense is, you're going to be in every game if that's the case. Question number 3 from you guys. This is from Samuel McFarland 22 on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have a firm answer for this. I don't. What's the plan for Kenny Pickett? What is the plan for Kenny Pickett? Because it was a weird trade. I think we can all probably agree an upgrade at the backup or third string quarterback position, but a weird trade. What do you guys think they have up their sleeve for Kenny Pickett?
I think personally this has Tyrod Taylor-esque written all over it. You have to kind of follow the breadcrumbs and what they say. Now, they've done a good job of keeping anything on their wraps. Like, we don't know what's going on, but it feels like if Kenny Pickett gets to start week 1, it's going to be one of those things where you're not necessarily setting him up for failure, but you're pretty much just waiting for him to have that bad game or to have that drop-off where you're looking for. It's like, okay, let's usher in this next guy. Mm-hmm. So if I had to say anything, it feels like 2018 Baker Mayfield and Tyrod Taylor.
Interesting.
Assuming we go Shedeur at 2.
I completely agree. I think it's setting us up for the same cycle. If he comes out and he's QB1, which I hope not. I hope he's just and it's nothing against Kenny Pickett. Yeah. I think he's in the NFL. He's a great QB, great guy. But I think to go out and get a Shedeur or bring someone in like Kirk Cousins, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable as a fan. But to have the same cycle of throwing him out there as QB1, and like they said, you're waiting for that mistake, and then the crowd's booing, and then we got to plug in another guy, and then we're kind of unraveling, week 4, week 5, and we're going back to the same cycle of who's going to be our QB going into the game. Yeah. So I think he's there. I like him there as like, come in. We've seen a lot of injuries, especially at the QB position. So if he has to come in and, for a drive or two and make some plays, I think he's capable of doing that. I think that's great. But I think I'd like to see someone week 1 to give me as a fan, to get me pumped up and hyped up.
Damn, no 2 gloves in September?
No two gloves in September. Kenny 2 gloves. I'm with you guys. I do think that there's a world where he is the week 1 starter, whether we like it or not. I think, Zay, that point you brought up about potentially 2 rookie quarterbacks in the draft, that feeds into Kenny Pickett big time, because this is a guy, again, I know we say all these negative things, and I'm sure all of us have said negative things watching him play on the Steelers, but he's won games. He's done enough to take care of the football. In some cases, he's done enough. But
he's got a Super Bowl.
He's got a Super Bowl now, too. He was a third quarterback in that Super Bowl throw a pass, too. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. But Kenny Pickett, to me, is probably not your answer any point past week 4. First quarter of the season, he can't continue to be the answer. Unless he's playing out of his mind, he can't continue to be the answer.
What if there was a situation where, like, it's kind of like house money. He's on such a friendly deal. What if Kenny Pickett came in, and it's almost like the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson thing, but in this aspect, how, sought after QBs are. What if they found a way to trade Kenny Pickett for value? Let's just say he goes 3-1, and something happens, and you bring in the rookie. The rookie has to play. Aaron Berea could be sitting there looking at, hey, we got a quarterback here that's 3-1 right now. Trade potentially. I mean, obviously, you'd have to learn a new system. Might not be the best scenario, but is there a situation where they could get some draft capital or something out of him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about it last offseason with Tyler Huntley and DTR too, like potentially trading one of those guys. Nothing materialized for Huntley. To be honest with you, he just wasn't that good in the preseason. And then obviously he beat the Browns whatever week that was at the end of the year, regardless. But yeah, there's absolutely there's a world where that exists. It was like, I can't remember what percentage of teams, but more than 50% of teams last year wound up using at least 2 quarterbacks. Multiple quarterbacks matter, and there are teams like the Minnesota Vikings do not have another quarterback on their roster right now. Like, there are teams that need quarterbacks, that need backups to help their team, and I think there's a world where that absolutely exists. I don't want to, discount the offense. We talked about them a bunch, talked about the defense, but this may be the first time on the show we're going to talk about special teams, guys. A question from Brick9401 on Instagram. This is the first time I've thought of this in 2 months, Brick, if you're watching this. What are the Browns going to do at kicker? What are the Browns going to do at kicker? Is Dustin Hopkins the guy? I don't know if you guys have thought about this a lot. I certainly haven't. What do you guys think?
My opinion, I don't want to say he's not the guy. I think that he could be if he comes back around, but I think it's similar to QB where you got to have a solid, viable option as a fan base. My parents make fun of me every time we go to kick a field goal. I run behind our couch and I don't look because I'm so afraid of watching even a simple extra point. Yep. And we've seen it hurt us in games time and time again. We miss an extra point, and then we got to go down and go for 2, and we end up losing the game. So I don't have an answer for who it's going to be, but whoever it is, just as long as it's a viable option, I don't have to hide behind my couch anymore, and I can just see that kick go through. I'll be happy.
I mean, let's be honest. They gave him this extension. He's getting paid a lot of money. It's Dustin Hopkins. As much as we are, have PTSD just thinking about the ball getting set on under center like that, but it could be one of those things where maybe it gets so bad to a point where they trade for another one, kind of like how they did with Dustin Hopkins. I just don't know how you go from being so dominant to just literally falling off a cliff in a matter of games. So I'm hoping that they are just going to run it back, let his mental get, back where it needs to be, and he can get back to nailing those kicks and being automatic. Like we saw him be, we've seen it happen. So come on, Dustin, just get it together for us, please.
I hope it's Dustin Hopkins, but I'll be real with you guys. 2 years ago from the USFL, Brandon Aubrey came into the NFL All-Pro. Last year, Jake Bates came in from the UFL. I don't know if he was an All-Pro, but was one of the best kickers in the NFL. They better be turning those stones in the UFL. I'm not even there are multiple players that come there every single year and contribute to teams. Back-to-back years, you have had elite kickers, not good kickers, not kickers that can make 30. Elite kickers. Jake Bates has a cannon on his right leg. Jake Bates has a cannon on his right leg. You need to turn every stone over possible. And I think they're going to do it in the United Football League. They better at least try to. But I'm with you. It has to be Dustin Hopkins.
Are they going to draft one like the Ravens are potentially rumored to do?
Oh, gosh. Don't get us started on that. Owners' meetings, definitely some interesting stuff that has come out from that, including the Justin Tucker Ravens kicker scenario. We will finish up with that. We'll take a brief break and conclude here on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. We're wrapping this episode up with a crazy announcement. Obviously, a lot of you know, the Cleveland Guardians home opener is a week from today if you're seeing this on Tuesday, but April 8th at 1:30 p.m. outside the Thirsty Parrot, we will have our third episode of this show live for you guys. So if you are down there, feel free to stop by. If you're of age, potentially have a drink with us, but hang out with us. Watch the show, watch it live before it gets released. But Cleveland Guardians back in action at home on the 8th. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the huge promo for something dropping on the 8th. It's 100 years in the I have no idea what's happening. But apparently there is some huge drop on the 8th downtown Cleveland for the game. Have you seen that? I don't know what it is. It's been an ad.
For the guards or just
for the
Cleveland
guards?
in general?
For the guards. It's been an ad with a slider was in it, I believe, mustard, ketchup, all this. I don't know what's going on. Not a clue what's going on. But there is a crazy drop, supposedly at least, that will be out on the 8th that I'm very fascinated by. We wait to see. But that is going to be awesome. If you guys are down there going to the home opener, make sure to stop by, say what's up, take some pictures. Again, potentially hang out with us for a little bit. But there is still some pretty important Brown stuff this upcoming week. April 4th. We all know what it is, and if you don't, I'm here to tell you. It's the Shedeur Sanders Pro Day. Everybody is going to be watching. Everybody's going to be watching. I don't know about you. I'm going to be plopped on my couch, NFL Network on, a bucket of popcorn in my hand, staring at that screen to see who's there, but also to watch him throw.
It's one of those things where, like, am I excited? Sure. But I'm not a fan of these pro day things just because everything gets blown out of proportion. It's like, oh, Cam Ward threw this fantastic ball. Oh, Shedeur didn't quite hit that out route perfectly. He's going to drop to the third round. Like, it's either going to be a drastic overreaction or a drastic underreaction. And honestly, just get me to the dang draft so we can just stop with all this. But, one thing I am intrigued with the pro day, Shiloh Sanders. Yeah. I think he's a guy that could potentially fall, maybe get 2 Sanders in the bunch. You need a safety. Yeah. And obviously, I've been following along with him and his dad having this bet. If he runs under a 4.4, he's going to buy him a Rolls Royce and all this stuff. So I'm definitely excited to see what they have to offer. You get to see Travis Hunter, of course, which is going to be, that's always fun. So buckle up, and we're almost to draft day.
We are almost to draft day. I will say one thing about the pro days, because I was pretty much on the same page as you were most of the time. It still is overreactions, but what we saw with the Titans with Cam Ward this year was fascinating. He had a great pro day. He had a private workout with them, and then all of a sudden, Giants aren't trading up, Browns aren't trading up. Or if they were, it would take a haul. Mm-hmm. You can cement your guy. And at the end of the day, the only team, really, the Browns are really number 1 overall on the clock after the Titans take Cam Ward. The only team that could potentially cement their pick, it could be Travis Hunter too, could be whatever, is the Browns. And if they really like Shedeur Sanders from the pro day and the private workout and the dinner, they could make it known. Wouldn't benefit them to do it, but they could know in their heads, this is our guy, this is what we're going with it too. So watching as the public probably doesn't matter as much, but to the Browns, this is their offseason Super Bowl right now, guys. That's the reality.
The Giants too, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's both of those teams, and I would be fascinated to see, if the Giants really, really like him, they try to move up. I think they could. I think that could be a great world for the Browns where they trade down and get an extra pick. But we will keep you guys updated on all of that on Honor the Land. If you guys aren't following the socials, same handles as it is on here. Honor the Land on Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. Zay, any final words before we sign off?
Make sure y'all pop out. Sometimes you got to pop out and show out. Down at Thirsty Parrot Tuesday, 1:30. I mean, if you want to get there earlier, there's shows all day. So it's going to be a great time. Max and myself would love to see you. So just come on and say what's up.
And I can personally promise whoever's watching this, I will be there early. I don't know about I will be there early.
We can have a drink early.
Yes, early. We
during
appreciate
and after.
Before, during, and after. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network.